Welcome to Ghostly.
Is Bela Lugosi's apartment haunted?
Ghostly is a podcast that comes out every other week. In each episode, we take a ghost story or paranormal event and look into its complete history. Rebecca then gives us evidence proving that the story is real, and my job is to debate those pieces of evidence and get you, the listener, prepared to vote on if it's real or not. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
Today, we have a very, very, very special guest here.
Brand new.
Never been on Ghostly before.
Yes. Never been out of the house before.
It is Mr. Alan Morgan, or Al.
Hello, true believers and authentic skeptics.
Ooh,
So
authentic
today.
skeptics.
How long did you prepare that for?
I was in the shower this morning.
Oh,
And,
well, thank you for
okay.
that. Thank you for showering.
yes, I know. I've gotten a lot of complaints about that in the past, but it is good to be here and clean and ready to go.
Yeah, and welcome to Ghostly HQ.
Wow, thank you very much. I'm very impressed.
Does it live up to all of your expectations of this?
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fantastic, especially when you let me go down the Ghostly pole.
Oh, yeah.
Check out the Ghostly Mobile.
Yeah.
that was
The
a lot
Ghostly
of fun.
Mobile. That's definitely something.
Yeah.
So, Al, you do a lot of things. I mean, you have two podcasts. One of them is hasn't been out for a while, Mr. Wiggly's Moist and Happy Friendship Garden.
Yeah, exactly.
Which both Pat and I have been on.
Yes, we have been on
And
it.
a valuable addition to the podcast as well. You guys are great performers.
Thank you. And also, right now, you have From X to Z.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So that is a podcast. It's a cross-generational nerdcast is what I like to call it. It is with my daughter, Cal. I'm Generation X. She's Generation Z. And what we do is we take a look at nerd culture in its various aspects from our individual generational perspectives.
Oh.
So, basically she tells me what all the hot, new, cool stuff is that's going on, and I reply with my grumpy old man kind of remember
we
when.
did this back in the day.
That's right.
Gotcha.
I love the Stump the Dad segment on there.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And also, you are a main stage performer at the Comedy Shrine as well.
Yes.
You
that's
are
correct.
a paid comedian.
I am a paid comedian. So
Wow.
I'm very lucky to be able to say that.
Not
It
many
is-
people can nowadays.
No, not many people can. I mean, a lot of people are trying to be funny. I actually get a little bit of money for it, so I'm very happy about that. Really have achieved my life goal at this point, so it's all downhill from here, basically.
But you also have a day job too.
Yes.
How do you have time for all of this stuff?
That's a good question.
Do you have a clone?
No, I've been thinking about that, but my genetic studies have not gone far enough along for me to-
Okay. You need to work on that.
Yeah,
then.
I'd say ADHD really has something to do with.
I mean, I'm right there with you because, like, during a moment like this, I could be hyper focused. That's that
Yes.
ADHD superpower.
Yes, and that is actually something I saw in The Amazing Race this season.
Yeah. We're big fans of the Holderness family.
Yes, so-
we've been watching them for years.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, they've got their moment of national time. So, but when Penn was doing some of his stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, you kind of remind me of Penn a little bit.
That's true,
too.
a little bit.
I
Yeah.
get a fair amount
You
of
do
that
the music,
actually, since I
you do all the
some
stuff.
music, and not nearly at the level that they do it. So
No,
it's
they're
something to
amazing.
aspire to.
So are you, though, Al.
Yeah.
You are so sweet. I'd
Well-
reach across the table and hug you if I could.
COVID.
Good call.
Okay, so most people that know the name Bela Lugosi know him from his roles in horror films. He was the original Dracula. He was also Igor in Son of Frankenstein. His career, as well as his life, was like a roller coaster. Would you agree?
From what I know of him, absolutely.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi is like a roller coaster.
Yeah. I see. Is that an improv
Yeah, it
prompt?
is.
Right
It
there.
is right
okay.
there, yeah.
Bela Lugosi is like a roller coaster. He had his ups and his downs, and eventually he stopped. So, that's the best I can do at the moment, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I didn't prepare you for that. So, so when Bela died, it is believed that he never left his last apartment. So he had this apartment for like a year, in 11 days, actually. And I mean, he left to go outside.
I was going to
but
say, this is really weird. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know, but he did not.
Really
he
trying
did
to
not
live up to the vampire.
This is the apartment where he
ethos.
died. is
Yeah,
what we're saying.
he had many houses though,
Okay.
and
Yes.
many places that he stayed, but this was his final one, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Many people have come and gone from this apartment, and people say that there is this eerie feeling in the house. They also feel like they are being watched when they sleep, which is creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy. This
It's
is
the one
before
time I don't want to be watched at all is when I'm sleeping.
Well, bathroom too, but yeah.
I mean, I have my own OnlyFans page for that. So
Well, here's a side to Pat that the listeners had not known about before.
Yeah, right.
So that's great.
Dracula may be dead and gone, but does Bella not let the spirit die? We'll find out in this last of our Most Haunted series. For those that are not aware, we've been doing this Most Haunted series all year so far. We wanted to do this to reward the cities where we get the most downloads. So to be a Most Haunted episode, the story has to happen in or around one of our biggest cities and be listed as one of the top 5 or top 10 most haunted location. So, Al, what do you remember about Bella?
Well, it's interesting because Bela, to me, I know him more as an iconic figure rather than someone who is familiar with his body of work. I mean, obviously, I'd seen the original Dracula, seen him in old movies from time to time, but a lot of times he would be more of a touchstone in the sense where it's like he might be referenced elsewhere. The things that pop into my mind immediately, since I'm a huge music nerd, is the first single by the proto-goth band Bauhaus.
You brought that up to me, and I researched that actually.
Did you?
What was the name of that song?
Bela Lugosi's Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was credited as being one of the first goth songs ever.
Yeah, absolutely. It really was kind of, and that was something that was within my era. And then, of course,
that was in the 70s, right?
Yes, late 70s, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was Martin Landau's amazing portrayal of Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood, the Tim Burton film.
That's where I know Bela the most, is from the Ed Wood movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Landau, I think, rightly won the Oscar for it that year. So it was an amazing portrayal. But I think he's seeped so much into the cultural consciousness at this point that almost like Einstein or Lincoln, it's like you don't even necessarily have to know a lot about him to feel his iconic presence, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. What I find really funny about Bela is he was well respected amongst fellow actors.
Yes.
But he was not respected by the studios. And the critics didn't really like him that much either. So
right. And I mean, I think those kinds of movies, which he eventually wound up being typecast in, I think at the time there was not necessarily the appreciation or the reverence for that type of art.
Sure.
I get the impression that it was more considered, well, this is commerce as opposed to high art.
And I think that's still the case for horror movies. I mean, though they are one of the biggest cash movies now, and
cash cows,
and one of the few movies that succeeds at the box office.
That's
very interesting.
No matter what's going on in the world, too,
to see a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone always wants to be scared out of their pants a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. So we do have some shout outs. There are 2 ways to get a shout out on Ghostly. The first way is to give us a review on Apple Podcast. Of course, we always prefer those 5-star reviews. I'm sure you do too, Al, for your From X to Z, right?
Absolutely.
But we will read any and all reviews that we receive. And the second way is to become a member on Patreon. Just go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on Patreon in the menu bar, and we have a few different tiers to choose from, varying from $1 to $10. So it's not going to break the bank.
Not at all. And for $5, you get a whole extra 2 episodes a month.
Absolutely.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
Plus some too. I mean,
plus more.
Yeah, exactly. And you get the episodes early and everything like that. So there's a lot of value in it. So our first one that we're going to bring up is our patrons.
Yeah, Patreon is a great place.
We got 2.
So
we have Dakota
and Sergio.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for becoming new patrons. We really appreciate that. And we do have 3 reviews. You want to do the first one?
Sure. We have Taji O'Shea from the United Kingdom.
Now, I would have thought like
Oh,
Japan
right.
or something.
I know. 5 stars, says super interesting. This is such an awesome and fun show, although I'm a skeptic. Hey, skeptic.
Hey.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations and rationale behind validating whether or not a story is real or not. And can I just say the audio quality of this show is straight fire.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This show is on fire.
I don't know if the show is. The audio quality
The
is.
audio quality is on fire.
I think you got a hit.
Yeah. The next one is another 5-star review. This is right here in the United States, guys. So this is Dr. Rick Loftus. Rick Loftus.
There you go.
That is a hard one to say.
Okay.
He says, best paranormal podcast for all audiences. Pat and Rebecca are delightful hosts who manage to mix facts and mystery with an easy banter that makes me wish after each episode that the stories they tell had gone on longer.
I don't know. We go on for a while.
We do. We just talk. My only kids are the 4-legged kind, but if I had human children, I'd enjoy listening with the whole family. By the way, dogs, cats, they can listen to this too.
They can. We really encourage that.
Yeah, we try to be friendly
Goats,
to animals.
whatever you got.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the goats.
Well, those kids, they call
Yeah, they
like
do.
young goats kids.
They
So,
do.
I mean, I think it works.
So he said, as I think all audiences, even especially skeptics, would enjoy the friendly debate format and the invitation for the audience to put their nickel down as skeptic, believer, or the in-between. And he says, ski lever.
Skelever. I like it. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Tweenie,
right?
No, we don't do that. Plus, you're assuming that the doctor is a man, and we do not
I was referring
know
to
that.
because of Rick.
Well, but that could, we don't know. We're
I don't
gonna say
know.
they.
The doctor.
Okay.
The
Could be
good
Rick
doctor.
Erica.
Yeah,
Could be
right?
short for
Right?
Erica.
Yeah, it could be.
Or
Yeah,
Rick
definitely.
Loftus could be the last name. We don't
Right.
know.
But that's an actual doctor. So
Elle, do you want to do the third one?
sure.
This one is from Australia, so I thought maybe you could do a little Australian
you do
accent. for
not
this
need to
one.
do an
A
Australian.
horrible Australian accent. This review is from Kristen. Kristen says it's a great listen. Have really enjoyed listening to this podcast for quite a long time now. It's a great balance between those who believe and those who don't. Whilst, and that's the word, whilst most of the cases are US based, it's still fascinating to hear the history behind the locations as well. And this review comes from KC in Sydney, Australia. That is a 5-star review. So
Wow.
Wow.
Good
you're
on you, mates.
good.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
my
good.
gosh.
I tried it, and Rebecca was like, nah.
It's just British.
Yeah, it was British. Well, I have to say something like, good eye, mate, before I
Good eye,
do
mate,
it.
right.
I have to have these little key things that I say beforehand.
the little Paul Hoganisms, if
Exactly.
you will.
That's
The
not a
throw-
knife.
Right.
This is
That's
a
not
knife.
Or another shrimp on
I
the
would
barbie.
really
Yeah,
enjoy
exactly.
listening. No, I
Well,
can't.
I would love to do an Australian episode.
I was just gonna say, I think Casey, you've inspired us. We definitely
Maybe like a
need to do that.
kangaroo hunting or something like that.
No kangaroo huntings. There's
No, sorry,
plenty
a
of-
roo.
A roo. A roo hunting. Oh no, I don't even know why I tried. Okay.
All right. All right. So, Rebecca, let's get into the listener mail.
Absolutely. So we have another in real life card from a listener.
Elle, can you see the card?
I can see the car. It's
It
got a cute little
exists.
kitty cat
Cute
on the
little
front.
kitty cat that opens up. Oh,
Aw.
peekaboo with the kitty.
Aw.
This is from Shayla, I believe. All right, peekaboo cat. So one time I got my kids a new nightlight because the dark is scary, and I agree. A couple of days later, my kid wanted a different nightlight. I said no, because we had just bought this one. I finally got my kid to tell me he doesn't like it because of the girl in it.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, let's burn the nightlight, cleanse our house, pour a foundation of salt, maybe move. It was an Incredibles nightlight.
Ooh.
It projected
I like
the
Incredibles.
family onto the wall, but it was
Oh.
slightly distorted, so it looked creepy. I'm glad I figured it out before we moved. Smiley face.
Oh,
so this is one of your skeptic stories.
Oh, I like skeptic stories. Elle, where are you at in the skeptic spectrum there?
Well, that's kind of a good question. I mean, in the sense where it's like, I know that there's lots of phenomena in this world that we can't explain or understand. You know, I'm sure that there's a lot of metaphysical things going on that we can't really gauge. However, in terms of some of the specific stuff like ghosts or, paranormal phenomena that manifests itself that you can see, I don't know. I think that the human perception has a lot to say about that. So I guess that's kind of a long way around to say that I prefer a scientific basis for things, and I'm kind of more of a skeptic.
Ah, skeptic. You are the second
finally
skeptic.
Found another one.
I'm only the
on.
second?
Yeah, well, besides me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and the other one, you might know him. He's a guy by the name of Nick Mataragas.
I'm familiar with the gentleman, yes.
Yeah. So, and you seem a lot nicer than Nick. I just want to say.
Well, to be fair, I am a lot nicer than
That's
Nick.
true.
Okay.
That is true. That is true.
All right. So if you want to send us a ghost story, you can email us at info@ghostlypodcast.com or use the contact us form on ghostlypodcast.com. Or one of our favorite ways, like Shayla did, you can send us an actual thing in the mail.
We like that.
P.O. Box number 264, Geneva, Illinois, 60134. You're not going to remember any of this, so go to the website, ghostlypodcast.com, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see the address on the bottom.
You got it. Contact us form. All the good things are there.
Okay, well, since we have a guest, I don't want to be embarrassed, so we won't do the polls.
Nope, sorry.
Come on.
Always got to do the polls every time. You have won the last 2 polls.
But
I don't know why.
on. This is ridiculous.
Don't stop the polls on my account.
No, Al, we need to stop it because of
the
you.
polls are important. People go out of their way. They go to
Okay,
our
all
website to
right.
vote, just as all of you listeners listening right now should go and do.
No, they shouldn't until they've listened to the episode.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
once you've listened, they're
Yeah.
already listening, so they should go vote.
Ghostlypodcast.com/polls or just click on polls.
You got it. All right. So our last episode, we talked about the Betsy Ross house
We did.
in Philadelphia.
Are you familiar with the Betsy Ross house?
Well, I am after listening to Ghostly. I am.
Yeah,
There
right.
you go,
It's,
right?
Yeah, Betsy Ross probably didn't live there. She probably didn't make the flag. So it's
Yeah. Well,
Really?
Doesn't mean it's not haunted. But let's see what the listeners had to say. So they had yes, 47.1%, and no, 52.9%.
I won again?
Again.
Oh, my goodness.
So no more
Whoa.
complaining. No more boo-hooing.
there'll be plenty of complaining and boohooing.
What was our rating?
Okay, yeah, so we do an overall rating now. People can now vote on how haunted they believe something is, like we do here. Elle, you're going to get the opportunity to do that when we do the debate. 1 being not haunted at all, 10 being the most haunted place ever. On Ghostly, we're allowed to give a 0, but during the polls, they can't. It doesn't allow that. So the average one is 3.88.
So that's a little like, because again, really, it's more mathematically, it's between like a 3 and a 5 or 6 maybe that we
Right.
kind of land. So that's up there.
See, that's interesting because I thought the amount that it would be haunted, like haunting is kind of like pregnancy. It's either haunted or it isn't. I didn't know there was a scale.
There is a
There is
scale,
a scale
yeah.
attached to
Okay.
it.
Yeah, there is a scale, and it usually fluctuates around 4 or 5 if something is, voted yes, it's haunted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can usually tell by that.
So
But this is not the
believers.
least haunted place, though.
No,
So let me
no.
just say
Really?
that.
It's pretty close actually with that, but definitely my believers, we got to get out there and vote.
Yeah, you're not doing well in this most haunted series.
I know. I don't know.
I thought this was your series.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're moving on from this series after this. We have some really creepy things coming up.
We do,
so
yeah.
I'm excited.
So you ready for your ghost story?
Let's do it.
All right.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
I'm in Hollywood, and while I'm not in movies, you can't live here and not feel connected to them. When I moved in, the agent said something about this being a famous apartment where some old horror movie star had died. I thought that was kind of cool. I soon did some research and learned that it was none other than Bela Lugosi, Dracula himself. I thought it was great. I told everyone and even sometimes saw tourists taking pictures outside. No one has ever been rude or anything. It felt like I finally got a little bit of celebrity without having to actually be famous. Soon, though, the incident started. It started with little things being misplaced. My keys being in a slightly different place on the counter than where I thought I had put them. A glass being on the other side of the sink than where I usually put it. I would always notice these things in the mornings, and I didn't think anything of it at first. You know, you're in a hurry in the morning and you notice it, but you think you just forgot. But then one morning I woke up and I couldn't find my keys. I knew I had put them on the counter like always, but they weren't there. I thought maybe they fell or something. I have no pets, by the way. Nothing on the ground. After 10 minutes of looking, I was starting to panic. I was going to be late. Standing there and just looking around the apartment, I finally spotted them on the coffee table. I had no memory of putting them there. I've never put them there. But still, I dismissed it. The next time, I woke up and all the items on one of the shelves on the bookcase were switched around. Not books, but knickknacks. At this point, I started to wonder what the hell was going on. Was someone breaking into my apartment? Was I sleepwalking? I decided to purposely put my gym bag in front of the front door. If anyone was coming in, it would be moved. I woke up the next morning, the gym bag not moved, my laptop under the desk. I talked to one of my friends about this and she suggested I ask a medium to come visit. She was convinced that my place is haunted. And I had to admit it seemed more and more likely. Nothing was malicious, so I wasn't too scared. But it was annoying and disconcerting. The medium came and she confirmed our guess. Haunted. She said he was tall and thin and bored. She said not to worry about him. He was an actor and friendly. So, now I talk to Bela. I try to keep him from getting bored. It seems to have helped. He's only moved my keys once since then.
Wow. Okay, so she talks to her imaginary friend Bella there, and
so first of all, I took this as being a man. I know my voice isn't a man,
okay.
But when I wrote the character of this,
well, you didn't sound very manly.
I know. I could have done the voice.
Why do you always go to New York in these moments?
hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So now I talk to Bella.
By the way, talking to Bella would be the great title for a Lifetime movie.
Talking to Bella, yeah.
Talking to Bella.
No, I wanted to. So there are some stories of people who've lived there that claim that things have been moved when they're while they're sleeping. So I just took that and just made a story of it. Like this is not based on any specifics.
Your ghost stories usually aren't based upon too specific of a thing because you make them up.
I make them up.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And after we return, we're going to get to the pet facts.
Pet facts.
Throughout our time doing Ghostly, we've met a lot of great people. People that don't always fit into our episode schedule. And even when they do, we try to focus on the topic of the episode, and we don't really get a chance to get to know them as a person.
That's why we came up with the idea of Ghostly X. Ghostly X will come out on the weeks when there is no regular Ghostly episode.
And it'll have interviews with amazing people and listener feedback from previous episodes. We also can't wait to talk about the paranormal in the news.
We're very proud of this project, and we can't wait to share it with you.
Ghostly X is a Patreon exclusive. You can start listening now by going to ghostlypodcast.com and clicking on the Patreon link in the menu bar to become a patron and help support Ghostly by listening to our brand new show.
Facts, facts. From a skeptic point of view. Facts, facts. He presents it all to you. Facts, facts, facts.
All right, so we're going to get to the history. And one thing about this history that I want to say before I do it is there's going to be a lot of hard to pronounce words here. Bela was Hungarian. Yeah, so,
yes.
And I am not Hungarian, oddly enough, you know.
Can you
it's just-
slip into Slavic accent of some kind? to help
maybe
you
sometimes
pronounce
I
words?
can. I can maybe.
Do your best.
So Bela Lugosi was born Bela Ferenc Dezo Blasco.
Okay. Frank
That's a mouthful.
Deso.
Bela
Blasco.
Frank Dezo Blasco.
I like it.
He was born in 1882
Okay.
in Logos, Hungary. I think I'm saying that right.
Sounds good to me.
He was the youngest of 4 children. His father was a baker that became a banker.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
He finally got that final N.
He did, yeah. Yeah, so he started off a baker and became a banker. Obviously, I mean, that's
Right.
the transition, right? That's the promotion.
Right. And then eventually you can go on to become a bankette if you.
I mean, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. His mother was Serbian born.
Okay.
Bela was raised in a Roman Catholic home. He dropped out of school at the age of 12 and started working in some manual labor jobs. But he was away from the family when his father passed away. He began his stage acting career in 1902. He played a couple of small roles in some plays and some operas in 1903, in 1904. But back in those days, every actor needed a good stage name. And Blasco was not the best name for him, I don't think.
Blasco.
Blasco. So he changed his name to Lugosi to honor his birthplace of Logos.
Lugosi,
Lugos.
Yeah.
Okay,
Lugosi.
Lugosi. All right. I don't think Blasco's that bad, but I don't know. I'm not Hungarian, so I don't
Right.
know.
I mean, Lugosi has a certain kind of ring to it.
That's true.
It does.
Bela
Yes.
Lugosi.
It's a nice. I'm thinking of changing my name to Chicagan. You know.
Ah.
Chicagoan.
Yeah, Chicagan.
Yeah, there you go. L first, you'd say L, right? L
Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah.
Al Chicagan.
Yeah. I think they have good beefs there too.
Oh, they get the best beefs.
Yeah. After that, he performed in some Shakespeare plays. So he was a pretty good actor.
He was legit.
He was
It was
legit.
legit. Too
I mean,
legit to quit.
Yeah. And you did the hand movement for that too at the same time. So I mean, I would say that if you're an actor doing Shakespeare, you have to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He moved to Budapest in 1911 and played dozens of roles with the National Theatre of Hungary between 1913 and 1919. Again, you don't get to play for the National Theatre unless you're decent.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had some serious acting chops.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I've seen him, it's all been in horror films. So
Right.
he has done some others, or he had done some other stuff besides horror films, but I had never watched those movies.
Right.
He actually starred in one thing. We're going to get into more,
Yeah.
but he starred in one thing that was not, and he actually tried his best not to do horror films.
Yeah. The
It's
dreaded
hard,
typecasting.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely typecasting.
But yeah, so I think all evidence points to yes, he had some acting chops.
Yeah. Bela claimed to be the leading actor of Hungary's Royal National Theatre, but many of his roles were very minor or supporting.
Okay.
Then in 1914, the world all changed.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It was the start of World War I. Have you guys heard of World War
Oh,
I?
that was the prequel.
Yeah, the prequel, yeah.
The-
Yeah, that was the origin story.
The origin story, right.
Bela served as an infantryman in the Austro-Hungarian army from 1914 to 1916, rising to the rank of lieutenant. He was awarded the Wound Medal for wound.
Okay.
They really got straight to the point with that
Yeah,
one,
right?
didn't they?
He suffered a wound while serving on the Russian front.
Oh,
Yeah, this is hard. I was thinking about this when writing this. This is a hard thing in this day and age, and you're going to hear more that makes it even harder too.
Okay.
When he returned, he decided to act in a different way. He became an actor in the Hungarian silent films under the stage name of Arzitid Olt.
Okay.
I think that's how you say it.
I mean,
so that's the name he changed to?
yeah,
Oz.
too. Yeah. From Bela Lugosi,
Right, to...
just to do these silent films.
I guess he wanted to bury those silent films.
Right? Yeah. Well, because of the A, he would get top billing then, right?
Oh,
if
start
it
with
was
A.
alphabetical,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
and by first name, I
Yeah.
guess that would be true.
He was no dummy.
No, definitely not. He married his first wife, Ilona Schmick, in 1917, but their marriage was short-lived because he was forced to leave Hungary due to his activism in the Actors Union in Hungary during the Revolution of 1919 and his active participation in the Hungarian Soviet Republic.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, right? It's pretty big.
He was more than just an actor.
No, he's got a very interesting story.
He really does.
His
Oh.
life story would be a great movie itself.
It
sounds
gets
like.
more interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
His wife went with him at first, but she missed her family and decided to go back and file for divorce because she could not live in what was the modern day Hungary and be married to a communist. So,
Wait a minute. So Bella was a communist.
well, yeah, I mean, I just said that he was participated in the
rebel.
Hungarian Soviet Republic.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that was a communist organization.
It was
okay,
communist. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bela went to Vienna and then to Berlin. And he started doing some acting there in more silent films. He got married again to Ilona von Montega in 1919, who was a Hungarian actress. This was another short-lived marriage, though, because Bela had plans to go to the U.S. and she did not want to.
You
So-
think they could have discussed that before
You would
You
have
would think.
got
You would
married?
think.
That
Or-
would kind of be a deal breaker.
Or maybe he just realized it after they got married. I want to move to the U.S. Let's go. And she's
Life
like,
with
"Yeah."
you, I'd like to move to the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So while consoling himself with an affair with Violetta Nepurska, his co-star in 3 of his German films, Lugosi wrote to Ilona from Berlin, pleading
Which Alona?
the second
Second
The second
Ilona
Ilona, okay.
von Montga.
Okay.
I think you're making these names up.
I'm not. He was pleading for her to join him. In return, she pleaded for him to return to Budapest. When he refused, probably because he was still fearing for his life, she divorced him in July of 1920. Eventually, Bela traveled to New Orleans in December of 1920. He got there by working as a crewman aboard a merchant ship.
This is, okay. So we often hear about, people arriving
Mhm.
from Europe to the U.S., especially after the wars and whatever. But we don't often think of New Orleans as the city.
That's
Well, he
where
snuck in.
people come. Yeah.
He snuck in. I mean, yeah.
He was like working.
Yeah, but it's true. Most immigrant stories from those days revolve around Ellis Island or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
And his does too, but it just doesn't start there. It goes there. though.
Okay.
So he liked what he saw, and he wanted to stay in the U.S. But he was an illegal alien. So he traveled from New Orleans to New York, and then to Ellis Island, where he formally entered the country.
Oh, look, I just arrived.
Exactly,
Wow.
right?
Oh, I've never seen this place before. Wow.
Now, here's one of the strange twists in his
Oh,
story.
this is
though.
the strange
This is a
twist.
stra- oh
This
my
is
God.
this is one of the strange twists. There is another super strange twist. But so the strange thing is, at the same time that he arrived at Ellis Island, so did Ilona von Montega. And I am not sure if they ever reconnected, but she was invited to New York by a theater owner to perform there, and maybe more. And he lost his theater while she was en route.
So the woman who was like, nope,
Yeah.
I won't move there, when somebody else asked
Yep.
her. Wow.
Yeah,
He
that's
knows how to
tough.
pick them.
That sounds like it's not the destination; it's the companion.
I
Right?
think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Bella's life was destined for more than just the married life, as you're going to be able to tell in this. He had several.
We got 2 so far.
2 so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Collect them all.
So Bela started acting in some plays and movies in New York before he got his biggest break, or it could have been one of the worst roles for his career, which was Dracula. They wanted Bela because of his European looks and thick accent. It started off as a play. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it did. Yeah. I did see that in the research. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he's not Transylvanian, I guess, but like Hungarian, kind of close to that. So it's
Right.
that Eastern
actually-
European look and sound.
Actually, where he was born is now Romania.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
So,
we
oddly enough.
go back and listen to our Dracula's Castle episode.
Yeah. Bela would have loved it there.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe he would have hated it there. I don't know.
Well, I have some thoughts on that we're going to come to.
So in late July 1929, Bela Lugosi arrived in San Francisco with a touring company for Dracula. And
I'm trying to picture Dracula as a stage play, by the way.
it reminds
In
me
the
of
days of vaudeville.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Forgetting Sarah Marshall at the end when they do the puppet thing with Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
So within 10 days, he was wedded and separated from Beatrice Weeks. The Weeks
Wow.
Lugosi marriage was, it has all the credentials of a wild fling from the roaring 20s. She's a wealthy, widowed heiress, and he is a rising stage and screen star. So Dracula was set to become a movie, and of course, they wanted Bela as Dracula. This would mean
That is nice, though, because sometimes the stage actor
No.
doesn't get the opportunity to be in the
That
film.
is true.
And sometimes the really good guy that plays Flash doesn't get to play Flash in the movie.
Oh, don't get me started. That's something we should discuss.
not my Flash.
That's right.
Yeah.
Grant Gustin
Yeah.
he was cheated. But
was definitely.
Anyway. Yeah.
But Bela was not
Bela was not.
yet.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
So, yeah, Bela then became a U.S. citizen in 1931.
All right. And he moved to Hollywood
He moved to Hollywood and decided to stay there forever.
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 Okay.
Okay, so after Dracula was released, Bela was finally a star, right? He finally got what he was looking for. And the role of Dracula was more of a burden than an actual blessing because he was typecast in horror films because of this and his thick accent. A lot of people said he would have gotten more roles had he been able to speak the language better.
that
So,
makes
I
sense.
mean, yeah, you kind of have to when you're in American
Hollywood,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's hard to say because typecasting throughout history, but especially back then, was probably pretty harsh. And, with his thick accent, it's
Yeah.
think about actors now, like William Shatner, no matter what he does, is going to be Captain Kirk on his gravestone. So-
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's true. Yep.
It's hard to.
And the studio system, right? Like they would
Yeah.
sign you to like a certain number of films and you didn't have an option. Like it wasn't like you decided what you were going to be in or
Right.
No.
anything like that. Like that was it. That was what you had to do is you signed with the studio and they decided what you were going to do.
Well, he
So-
did put ads in different actors, illustrations and stuff like that, saying that he could do more than just.
I can do
or-
more.
Yeah, and that was what his agent said he should do, so he did it. So, you guys ready for some weird stuff?
Bring it.
All right. So after Dracula, Bela claimed that there was a mysterious woman who haunted him. She had yellow eyes. She first appeared to him in 1929 before he moved to America. He called her Hetty. She made Bela her, how do I say this, adult slave?
Slave.
Oh, my.
person?
Slave for adult activities.
There you go.
Bela claimed that he would never marry again in 1932 because of the yellow-eyed woman. He was only 32 when he had met this woman. However, when he looked into her eyes, he felt a shock. He stated it was impossible to describe the feeling. It was a shot of fire and ecstasy. After he looked into her eyes, they were in each other's arms.
This is what Bella said. This is going to come up. We're going to bring this in the debate, everybody. So don't worry. We're going to talk more about it.
There's something more that people should know about this person, though. Bella described the woman like this. She was an actress whose age could not be determined. She wasn't the most beautiful woman. She had pale brown hair, and her skin was also very pale. However, the skin would sometimes turn blood red when she would eat.
Are you sure that this wasn't a snake?
I'm not sure.
It sounds like a snake to me.
The woman's mouth was thin and her teeth tiny and pointed. Men had feared this woman, but went to her at her command. Many husbands left their wives because of this woman.
Wow.
So the romance lasted 3 weeks. Lugosi went to run errands, and when he returned, all her stuff was gone. Her belongings were nowhere to be seen. She simply vanished into the night without a trace. She did leave a note for Bella. The note stated that they may never see each other again. However, he is always hers.
Yep.
Wow.
So again, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but this is kind of like almost like I want to say an alternative history, but it's kind of like almost like what he told as an explanation for like these, like, I only married her for 3 weeks. Like, there's
he didn't marry her.
Well, not her, but like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
the marriages that he had, like why things didn't continue has to do with this
yellow-eyed woman.
yellow-eyed
woman, yeah.
So,
you my yellow-eyed woman.
Yeah. I think we got a hit.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll see. But anyways, it's
very
a weird
odd.
story.
Very odd in his timing that it came out right when he became a star after Dracula.
It's interesting
That he married a vampire woman, it seemed like.
Was Bella dipping into the laudanum at any point?
Not at that point.
Not laudanum.
Okay.
And at that
I'm
well,
anticipating. I
Maybe
guess.
at that point.
Yes,
It's kind of weird when, so there is some stuff.
Okay.
So after Dracula, Bela was typecast as always playing the horror villain. He would often be paired with Boris Karloff, who the studios loved him.
And how do we know Boris Karloff?
Frankenstein.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was waiting to see if Al had that, but
I wasn't sure if you were asking me, like,
Yeah.
did I know him personally or?
yeah. Do you
no.
know him personally?
No, I believe I carry some of his genetics, but no.
Oh,
I'm-
interesting.
Why?
I just say that because I'm 6'6". So,
Yeah, you are, yep.
yeah.
And he was a very tall guy. So he hardly ever got top billing when he was with Boris. Even in a couple of the movies where Bela was obviously the lead, top billing went to Boris, and also Boris got paid more.
Oh.
No matter what was happening. There's a lot of reasons why his career started to decline, one of which is that he was signed with Universal Studios, and in 1936, the UK banned all horror films. So Universal dropped that line of films.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, Universal didn't just drop it. They actually had an underground horror film studio,
Ooh.
but it wasn't the same thing.
Yeah.
They couldn't get the same amount of money for each one of these films. So I'm not going to go into all the movies that he played in because there was a lot. Like those actors from those days would play in hundreds of movies. We could do a complete podcast based upon his movies.
Like I saw it was kind of a weird interview thing with him, but she was like, oh, you just finished, filming whatever. She's like, when do you start again? And he's like, oh, I think probably next week.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like today that just doesn't happen,
So what's funny is Boris really became famous because of Frankenstein, right? That was his first big thing that he did. And he had no speaking roles in that. But actually, Bela was offered that role of Frankenstein and turned it down.
Frankenstein?
Bela, yeah, he turned it down because there was no speaking roles. It's just, fire, bad.
Right.
That kind of stuff, yeah. So, yeah. But
that's weird.
he would have kept Boris from getting top billing. And they kind of hated each other a little bit, but they never spoke badly about each other.
Was it one of those kind of like Hollywood, bitchy behind the scenes kind of like, oh, yes, Boris is, oh, I suppose he's nice, but really, he doesn't wash.
It was something like that. Yeah.
God bless him. He smells good for that.
So the first time that I saw Bela was in this. In 1948, Bela once again played Dracula in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yes.
Which is a classic, right?
It is a classic, actually, a comedy classic.
So you have Frankenstein and you have Dracula and you have Abbott and Costello.
Yes.
What a wild pair.
Yes.
So Bela did marry 2 more times.
Really?
So we're at 3
Yes.
at this point.
No, this would
Now we've got 2 more.
2 more would put us at 5. Yeah,
yeah.
total. But
Right, the yellow-eyed lady did not count as one.
No,
right?
she was not. But we had that Beatrice Weeks.
Yeah.
Remember, we had the
10
2
days.
Alonas, and then we had the 10-day one.
Yeah.
I think is awesome because it's like, if someone asked me, what are you going to do with your vacation this year? I probably wouldn't be like, I was thinking of going out, meeting someone, getting married, getting divorced, coming back with a tan,
exactly, yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, but she had the money, so I don't know. I don't know if he got any of that money, but
Yeah, within 10 days, I don't know.
yeah. So yeah, he did marry 2 more times. In 1933, the 51-year-old Lugosi married 22-year-old Lillian Arch, the daughter of a Hungarian immigrant living in Hollywood. They had a child, Bela G. Lugosi. In 1938, Bela eventually had 4 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren, although he never lived to meet any of them. This marriage actually lasted more than a couple of years, but they did divorce on July 17th, 1953. So, I mean, that's 20 years they were married.
That's legit.
Okay.
Yeah, partly because Bela was jealous that Lillian wanted to work again and eventually ended up marrying the guy that she was working for.
So maybe he was right on that one.
Yeah, maybe. But another reason is that he was drinking a lot. Bela was one of the first Hollywood stars to admit to being addicted to drugs. He became addicted to drugs after being prescribed opiates in the late 1940s because of a leg injury that he had.
And I think he did have some issues right after the war, too. I had read. I don't know that it was an addiction, but he definitely had a lot of stuff going on.
But that is definitely another reason for the decline in his career, though.
Yeah.
He was broke in the later stages of his life, and that is when Ed Wood found him. Ed Wood gave him a role in Glenn or Glenda and Bride of the Monster, which sounds like, they were trying to go someplace else, but they were just like, let's just call it Bride, which most of his movies are like that, Ed Wood movies, and I enjoy them a lot, actually. Surprisingly, I enjoy them. Bela was so grateful for this that he checked himself into rehab. He spent 90 days in a rehab hospital. Now, not only did he check himself in, but he went to court.
Whoa.
To have them order him to stay or to be put into there.
Really?
Wow. So he couldn't leave.
I don't think he had insurance or anything like that.
Oh, that could be.
But the judge took pity on him and did sentence him to the hospital.
Now, you told me somebody famous came to visit him.
Yes, while he was in rehab, he had never met him before, but Frank Sinatra came to see him.
Ring-a-ding-ding, really?
And there was a rumor that Frank Sinatra paid for his rehab, which is not at all true because it was the state that paid for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the connection there?
They just liked each other. They liked each other's work.
Maybe he must have liked his movies. I don't know.
He must have liked
He
his
must
movies.
have liked his movies. That's why he went there.
Yeah, but so I found that really interesting that he did meet Frank Sinatra in rehab. Kind of an odd place to meet
Just
somebody.
a very Hollywood thing.
And I didn't
That's
think
a
you could
very
get
Hollywood
visitors in rehab, too.
Unless you're
Like
Frank
that.
Sinatra,
Yeah.
in which case,
Old blue eyes.
whatever you want to do,
Old
you
drunken
do.
blue eyes.
I'm just surprised nobody has made a play or a movie about that
Yeah.
meeting at some point.
That's true.
Because
Well, Bela didn't do so well in rehab, though, too. So when he got off the drugs, I'm thinking that they probably gave him a prescription medication to help him get off the drugs or to go through the detox process, and that made him not want to eat anything.
Oh.
So he went down to 120 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was in rehab that he went down that low?
That was like when he got out of rehab, he was 120 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I don't know if you want to make that play.
And he was tall, right?
Well,
I think he was tall.
Ah, he was. I
I
mean,
don't
I've
think he
seen
was
him.
Boris
tall as-
Karloff.
Yeah.
Tall. But Bela did remarry one last time to his last wife, Hope Linenger, who was actually a fan of his that wrote him a letter while he was in rehab.
All right.
that is a very Hollywood way to meet women. Quite frankly.
During an impromptu interview upon his release from the treatment center in 1955, Lugosi stated that he was about to begin work on a new Ed Wood film called The Ghoul Goes West. This was one of several projects proposed by Wood, including The Phantom Ghoul and Dr. Acula. With Lugosi, yeah, Dr.
Really?
Acula.
That's a Mitch Hedberg joke.
I was just going to say it totally is. Oh my God. That's awesome.
With Lugosi in his Dracula cape, Wood shot impromptu test footage with no particular storyline in mind in front of Tor Johnson's home, a suburban graveyard, and in front of Lugosi's apartment building on Carlton Way. This is what the episode's about.
Okay.
This footage ended up in Plan 9 from Outer Space. Al, you've seen that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's,
so that's the part where he's smelling the flower. That's by his apartment.
right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, there's the context.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just it's fantastic that Ed Wood was an early proponent of recycling.
Yeah.
The way he was.
I'm just going to shoot this. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but
yeah.
you never
just
know.
Waste not, want not.
Yeah. Which that was filmed in 1956 and didn't come out till 1957, soon after Lugosi died, though. Lugosi died of a heart attack on Thursday, August 6, 1956, in his Los Angeles apartment while taking a nap. His wife, Hope, discovered him dead on his bed, dressed only in his underwear, when she came home from work that evening. He having apparently died peacefully in his sleep around 6:45 p.m., according to the medical examiner. He was 73 and weighed 140 pounds. There has been speculation that he started back on the drugs, though. And that could have caused the heart attack. So, Bela moved into the apartment shortly after getting out of rehab on August 5th, 1955, and lived there for 1 year and 11 days until his death.
Wow.
So I don't have much history on the actual apartment itself.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a building that was built.
It seemed like from the outside,
I'm glad
it's a
it
building
was.
that was built.
No, it's like a couple. It's only like two stories, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not super tall.
Yeah, probably like a lot of the mid-century LA architecture of the
Yes.
time,
Yep.
and those kind of apartments. I mean, you can still go back there today, and you can see all kinds of examples of stuff that was built around that time. So,
It reminded me of Ralph Macchio's apartment in Karate Kid.
okay,
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of.
I guess
it's got
nicer.
that look.
Nicer than that, though.
Maybe not so. It's.
I
I mean, it's.
thought
kind of a
so.
similar feel to
Yeah,
it.
I guess that's true.
I mean, not exactly like it wasn't as bad, but it was close.
It wasn't. I mean, this was. I think it's in Hollywood itself, right?
Yes.
So, Al, you've been?
Yeah, and when you say Hollywood, that's one of the first things you learn very quickly about when you move there is that Hollywood, the city, is nothing like Hollywood, the myth. It's actually, a lot of it is kind of low rent and run down to a certain extent. I mean, there's the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard that all the tourists go
Sure.
to and everyone knows about that. But a lot of these places are it's cheap housing. Again, stuff that was built like in the 20th century, a lot of it mid-century boom kind of places. And kind of some places are a little skeevy.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even the downtown LA area is not,
Yeah.
like it's not a place you'd want to spend a lot of time.
No, definitely not. I mean,
You find your location and you go into it, and that's it. Yeah.
essentially. And downtown Los Angeles has been renovated and built up in a lot of ways over the last couple of decades, but there's still, I mean, that's where Skid Row is.
Yeah.
Is downtown, and there's some
Right by the Hotel Cecil.
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 Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so it's definitely kind of hit or miss.
Okay. And you lived there 13 years, right?
Yes. I mean, I mainly lived in the San Fernando Valley, what they
Ooh.
call the Valley. Actually, truthfully, in Burbank, like in beautiful downtown Burbank.
With Johnny Carson.
With Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Right. I used to drive by the NBC studios where
Wow.
he taped every day on my way to work. So yeah, that's kind of a different feel to it. It's more like the Valley is almost more like the suburbs.
Okay.
Though really LA has expanded so much at this point that
There's just
just
it's all
all-
very different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Rebecca, in her story, said that, the person didn't do anything in the movie industry, but it's impossible not to be a part of it in some way, right?
Yeah, that was just kind of feels like it when you're in LA, right? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It just permeates the culture. And even my wife, who I met out there, who
I didn't know that you met her out there. That's interesting.
yes, even though we're
Wow.
both from the Chicago area, we both met out there.
Wow.
So
To find each other.
Kismet. It's a Hollywood love story. I'm waiting for my movie to be made. But even though she had nothing to do with the movie industry, she was a teacher. There were always all these connections to it. Like, for instance, her mentor, one of her mentor teachers, her husband was a well-known Hollywood character actor.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So,
Crazy.
yeah, crazy. So, I mean, you just couldn't go anywhere without turning up some kind of connection to the entertainment industry.
I could see that. Like always, and every, plus it's just like every waiter you have is
Oh, my
probably
goodness.
somebody that's wanting to break into the movie business, and it's always everybody feels like they're on an audition. I could see that, right? Like people would feel like you have to, would think that like if you move out there with the purpose of becoming famous,
Oh, yeah.
it's like everywhere you go,
Is an audition.
you
yeah.
have to
Right.
be ready.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of culture shock, obviously, because you might be a big fish in a small pond where you grew up, but then you go out to Hollywood and there are thousands of other people
Yeah.
trying to do the same thing you're doing.
Just
So-
as good as you. Yeah.
Right, just as good,
If not better.
often better.
Yeah. So Bella's day was old school Hollywood, though.
Yeah.
That,
The
now,
studio system.
yeah. Now, is there still traces of that old Hollywood out there?
If you're talking about in terms of like architecturally or like some of the same, I mean, obviously there are a lot of the same buildings that were around
Sure,
in Bella's
sure.
day. Obviously, some of the same big studios are still out there. There's certainly respect paid to the past.
Okay.
People understand that it was old Hollywood that kind of made the town, even though it is, of course, branched out and become much more diverse and
Sure.
so many things going on out there these days.
Sure. Well, that's really cool. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we will get to the debate.
Pat, what do creepy stories, funny ghost memes, and inside ghostly information have in common?
My life.
Well, yes, but no, it's also Ghostly Society on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that too, of course. But aren't all ghostly listeners in Ghostly Society?
Not yet.
What? I mean, that means that they're missing out on all my jokes.
Yeah, they are. And missing out on chatting and sharing with other listeners and us, of course.
We love talking to our listeners. If you haven't yet, you should consider joining our private group on Facebook called Ghostly Society.
Let's hope now they will.
Unless they're a woman in white.
Uh-oh.
All right, Rebecca, You have some debate for us?
I do have some debate.
Okay.
Now, listen, first, I want to say that we are not going to debate Bela Lugosi's supposedly cursed mirror
Aw.
that is in Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in LA.
Aw, man.
First, the story linking Lugosi to the mirror is a bowl of nothing.
A bowl of nothing.
Ooh.
Yes.
Wow.
Also, it isn't linked to the apartment. It's linked to one of his houses.
Okay.
One of
And
his
we-
prior residences.
And we are talking about the apartment. So,
Well, he did have a big picture of him that moved from place to place.
Painting, yes.
Painting, yeah, of him.
he did.
Is that one of those paintings that where the eyes would move?
It looks like it,
Mm,
yeah.
does look
Okay.
like it could be that.
Now, are you aware of Zach Baggins?
Was he one of the Lord of the Rings characters?
He could have been.
He could have been.
He is a paranormal investigator, and I use that term very loosely for him. He does a little show called Ghost Adventurers, which Nick Mataragas was in, and he was naked in that episode. So,
he
Wait,
played
was Zach naked or was Nick naked?
Nick.
yes,
Was-
I'm picturing both. Yes,
Please
That could
don't
be.
put those things in my head.
yeah, it was. He was Gacy.
Ah.
Nick was Gacy. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
okay. So we're not. So that is a thing. You can read about it if you'd like, but that's not us today.
about Nick being naked.
Right.
and-
That. Yeah, I would recommend staying away from that.
Yes.
So I do want to talk about Hetty. That's
Hetty,
actually the
yes.
first evidence I want to talk about, just because
Okay.
I do think it could lend itself to this concept of him as a ghost or something paranormal happening. And I just think you brought it up, and I don't want to not have a discussion about
Okay,
it.
let's talk about
Okay.
it.
So again, just as a reminder, right, you talked about the yellow eyes. He
Yes.
claimed to see her multiple times throughout his life, not just that like initial 3-week love affair.
Right. And
that
she,
they
she
had.
lived with him for that?
Supposedly
that 3 weeks?
that's the
Supposedly?
only time was that first like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. So again, all the things that you talked about, right? He was initially super attracted to her. He couldn't figure out her age. She was an actress. She was not that beautiful, but whatever. He was attracted to her. The whole thing about the teeth, right? So here's something that Lugosi said. He said, "I lost weight. I hardly slept. I had seen other young men fade and wither before my eyes, and had heard the village folk whisper the dread cause. But when it came to me, I did not know it for what it was. Vampirism. It was my mother who forced me to flee the country and never to return to it again until that woman and every trace and memory of her vanished from the sight of men." So basically, like, he would claim there were several times where he would like have just gotten married, right? Or like met somebody, and he'd be performing his stage show, and he'd look in the audience, and there she would be, the woman with the yellow eyes staring at him like,
And nobody else would notice this woman.
well, yeah, I mean, she just looked like a woman.
The yellow eyes?
I don't know.
I would notice that.
But he would notice that.
I would be
and-
like, I think you have hepatitis. I think you're jaundice.
I think jaundice is going
Yeah,
around a lot.
exactly. Yeah.
so like, yeah, but he would basically say, and then like a couple times, or I think she like appeared to, or she came and saw him then in the dressing room and was basically like, don't get married because, or don't stay with this person because you're mine. And then like, stuff would happen. The women would whatever leave. And he was, I don't know, she basically threatened like, don't marry again. And so that's supposedly part of the reason that he left Hungary, came to the States, was to forget about this woman and all this. But she still kept showing up.
So she was this deus ex machina who would just show up
Right.
in his life to explain all of the questionable decisions that
Yeah.
he had made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Quite frankly, I need to get one of these women.
Well, I mean, there might be one in your future. You don't
there
know.
might be, yeah.
A yellow-eyed woman.
Yellow-eyed, yeah.
She came to the comedy shrine one night.
That's
and,
right. Honey, I was seduced by this yellow-eyed woman, which is why I stayed up late drinking.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, okay, so here's a little bit more Lugosi quotes, okay? So this whole thing forced Lugosi to contemplate who or what Hetty was, and then remember that in the arms of my old nurse, I heard the tales of vampires and saw their victims. Ah, yes, as I grew older and could take notice of things about me, I saw many a young man and young woman pale and sickened and seemed to die with no cause given. I had a skeptical mind. I read widely. I made a brave attempt to laugh off such nonsense. Folklore gone mad, I told myself. I would shake off the charnel house odors of such foul
Doesn't sound good.
superstitions. I don't know what that is. Yet that was not to be. And then there's a couple of people who kind of tried to back him up, right, when he made these claims.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Eugene Chrisman in 1932 described Lugosi as, quote, a haunted man. He went on to state that he believed that Lugosi was telling the truth, as he was not the sort of man to make things up and did not tell the story for publication purposes. Further to this, Chrisman stated that he had talked to a man who remembered Lugosi's strange behavior during one of his performances when he stated Hetty had appeared to him. A variation of this tale comes from Mr. L.P. Walter, a relative on Lugosi's mother's side, who, when writing to Richard Davis, stated that when Lugosi was starting as a stage actor, he was, quote, haunted by a mysterious cat woman.
Oh, she was a cat now. That would make more sense because the yellow eyes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Apparently, she always turned up in the stalls where he was performing, gazing up at him with her glittering green eyes, and said to him, quote, you and I are two of a kind, Bella, and in the end, you must join me.
Oh.
Oh, my.
Well, I like that it was in the stalls where he was performing, like he was in the bathroom.
Well, that's where they
You know, it was really rough during the Depression.
Yeah,
You
it was,
had to
yeah.
get an audience wherever you could.
That's what
yep.
they would call the front of the stage there.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so let's talk about it. What do we think about the yellow-eyed, green-eyed, whatever woman that would appear?
Cat vampire
We've got
woman.
two
Green-eyed lady.
people in his life who one says he actually did see this woman, and the other just says he's not a liar.
Well, I'm gonna let Al go first since he's our guest.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, well, for me, it always boils down to any of these questions boils down to Occam's razor. And I don't know if that's something that you folks have brought up in your...
I mean, we brought up the idea behind it, but not the actual term.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the simplest explanation is the most probable. And for me, when I hear these kind of tales, does my mind immediately go to supernatural woman in this guy's life, or does it go to this is an actor who's perhaps made some questionable choices and needs to explain them away and has a burgeoning drug habit to boot, and perhaps some undiagnosed mental issues, emotional issues. And if I'm going to be asked which one's more likely, I'm going to go with the more prosaic one. And I'm going to say, well, it sounds like a confluence of events. The fact that he always looked haunted, that could be attributed to any kinds of addictions and or mental health issues.
Yeah.
And as we all know, actors are not necessarily the most stable, grounded types in the world. So that might be more prevalent in that realm than normal. So that's kind of where my mind goes immediately.
Yeah, I would say that my mind instantly goes to the timing of when this came out. This was right after Dracula came out, and this gives some credibility and some mystery to that idea. So yeah, he was blaming a lot of his problems on that, but also using this to give a nice little studio boost. And so I disagree with Eugene Chrisman talking about that it wasn't for publication purposes. It absolutely was for publication purposes because I have never seen a yellow-eyed woman with sharp teeth that skin turns red when they eat. Although, very pale people, when they do get, excited or when they do eat, their skin can turn red. That's not weird. But the way that he described it made it seem like it was out of the ordinary red.
That's true.
So that is my opinion.
I remember as a kid, one of my friends, I don't know why we had this joke, but it was, you are what you eat, so you're better eat people. It was always hard.
Okay.
Little vampire
Whoa.
joke
That
we
explains
would
why
do.
you have this podcast. I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Then we would do our little vampire face. Yeah, no, you know what? I think it is weird timing, right? That he never talked about this, though. Again, just not publicly.
Well, he wasn't famous before either, so who
He
would
wasn't
have talked
famous
to it
before,
about?
and again,
Yeah.
he had a relative who said this. I do think there was a woman, right? Like, I do think there was a woman who was one. You know, I don't know. I think this can be for whoever you are, and whichever kind of person, you know, whether man, woman, man, whatever it is. Sometimes there's like that one person who's bad for you and you are just super attracted to, and they always show up right when you're about to be happy, right? And like finally got over them and you're finally going to move on. And then all of a sudden they show up in your life, right? And I think you're right, Al. I do actually agree with you on the concept of like trying to explain bad behavior, because so if he's, I mean, I guess back in the day, Hollywood, it wasn't that crazy that you'd get married, divorce, but still like 3 marriages under your belt and you just had this weird 2-week one. You know what I mean? Like that maybe he wanted to like, and you're in horror movies, like you said, Pat, so you kind of want to give a little supernatural to it.
And who knows how much pressure, say, the studio was putting on him to kind of spin this.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. It may not have been his choice to tell these kinds of stories or whatever it is. So, yeah, I don't, I mean, do I think there was a person? Yes, but I don't know about, her being paranormal.
Yeah. So what would be your rating then, Rebecca?
So my rating on this one is a 2.
Okay, so 2. That is the lowest you've ever gone.
Wow. I think it's a fun story. I love hearing this story, but I don't think it's paranormal.
So on a scale from 0 to 10, what would you give this then, Al?
For paranormality.
Go with a 1.
A 1. All right.
Only to get in under Rebecca.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go under you both, and I'm going to say 0. 0, 0, 0. I mean, yeah, what Rebecca said, there are people in people's lives that do this kind of stuff, and no, it's not supernatural. They're just not great people.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Okay, let's get into the actual paranormal apartment stuff. Okay. So this is probably the most widely reported paranormal story that happened right after Lugosi's death, during his funeral procession. I found this story in many sources, but the one I found most insightful was the Angel City Press in an article about haunted tales of the corner of Hollywood and Vine.
So, are you familiar with Hollywood and Vine?
Yeah. It's used to be a very skeevy area. They built it up a little bit.
Okay.
But, famous.
Yes. Yeah. I always hear about it. So this was one of the stories for that corner. Bela Lugosi also had an affinity for the intersection of Hollywood and Vine. He made it a daily habit to stroll along Hollywood Boulevard, and according to his friend Marie Statz, walking that stretch was a ritual for him. After his well-known career in Hollywood horror films, Lugosi died. They dressed him as Dracula, which that was decided by...
Yeah, so interestingly enough, people think that he wanted to be buried as Dracula. He did not. I mean, he never said anything. The actual will that he left, which wants to give money to people that he didn't have. he died with $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, that was about it.
And property. He had property.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have property. I mean, he had possessions.
No, I had heard that he actually owned different
land?
land.
No, he had sold off everything that he had beforehand.
Okay.
So the only thing that he left his son was $1,000, and he had to split that with Hope, his last wife.
Oh, wow,
because she was the next of kin, you know, obviously because they just got married. So it was actually his fourth wife, Lillian, the one that he was married to the longest, and the son that decided that he should be dressed as Dracula when he died.
I mean, he wasn't against it. He wasn't like, whatever you do when I die, don't dress me as Dracula. He just never said anything about it.
I don't know. I don't know if he would have wanted that.
Liked
even.
it.
So I don't know if he would have, but
yeah.
You know.
So anyway, he was dressed as Dracula. You can see pictures of it. Lugosi laid in state at the Utter McKinley Strother Mortuary, a block from Hollywood and Vine, and fans came by to pay their last respects. According to the Los Angeles Times, with thespian aplomb that followed him even in death, Bela Lugosi went to his grave yesterday in the same black cloak he wore to fame as the sinister Count Dracula of the screen. To the mourners who passed his bier to pay their respects, it was dramatic and solemn finale for the veteran actor who once terrified movie audiences by climbing in and out of coffins. For the funeral procession to Culver City's Holy Cross Cemetery, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce asked the mortuary to alter the route to avoid driving down Hollywood Boulevard. Businesses did not want a somber funeral to distract their customers. The mortuary changed the route so that the procession would only cross over Hollywood Boulevard, only cross over it, not go down it. Authors Jacobson and Wanamaker describe what happened as the hearse driver came to the intersection. Suddenly, it was as if someone tugged at the wheel. Instead of crossing Hollywood, the hearse veered left and up the boulevard. The driver struggled, but the coach had a mind of its own. He was unable to regain control of the wheel until they had crossed Vine. I don't know what happened. I just don't know, he told her, visibly shaken. But Marie, Lugosi's friend, knew, and she smiled. It was Bela saying goodbye to his beloved Hollywood Boulevard. Now, the other claim that's made is that it went by his favorite cigar shop that he went to every day.
I heard that one.
And I did read from his son, he loved cigars. Like his mom, Lillian, would have to like stand off stage and like take puffs of the cigar so that it'd be ready for him when he like went off stage for a break or whatever. So
That's
he really did
dedication
love his
there.
stogies.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing for him.
I don't have the 15 seconds that it's taken. Get the cigar going myself. Light it for me, Junior.
That was a good Bella.
That was a good Bella.
Thank you.
So that's this. I know it's kind of a long-winded thing, but this is actually in the papers. This is the story that was told. So this story then is often told as Bella, the ghost of Bella, is the one that made the wheels turn and the hearse go, not the direction that it was supposed to. That he's the one that directed it to go down Hollywood Boulevard.
All right, Elle, what do you got for this one?
Well, again, you
rolled your eyes a little bit before talking. I just want to state that first.
Well, if you could hear the sound of an eye roll on the podcast. No, again, kind of going back to the idea, it's like, okay, well, what's going to be more likely? That Bella took the wheel. He commandeered this car to go down Hollywood Boulevard. Or that, the person who was driving it, either there was a little mechanical touch or just thought, you know what, they really kind of messed over Bella here by not letting the parade route go down Hollywood Boulevard. As a tribute to this guy, I'm going to at least go down Hollywood to Vine.
Yeah.
I'm going to at least do that for him.
Yeah.
Because it's like my way of saying sayonara. And to me, that actually is more likely and perhaps even a little touching. Like, it's like, I'm going to buck the man. I'm going to go down Hollywood a little bit. And he gets his classy ending.
Well, I agree with you almost 100% on that. Although I think maybe they just mistakenly turned down it and then tried to come up with an excuse afterwards as to why they did such a stupid thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that would be my only reasoning behind it. It doesn't seem like anything crazy. I don't know what you think, Rebecca. I'm looking at you. You're looking like, yeah.
And I do have to interject here. Thinking of the way it probably was the way you described this place, I'm thinking if they had to turn left onto Hollywood Boulevard and then they get to Vine, it seems to me like they started out just a little bit south of Hollywood and a little bit east of Vine. So they probably, maybe that was the only exit. Like they would have had to go out that way anyway.
Oh, is it a street that has exits then?
Well, I mean, if I don't know the particular layout of this, but if it was, say in that particular position, perhaps the mortuary was on the south side of Hollywood Boulevard, or it was like on Gower or something like that, where they would have to go up a street to get onto the main boulevard and go that way. I don't know for sure, but that's just a speculation.
I don't know. I mean, the fact that this was reported in the paper, that it, I mean, I just can't imagine that some driver is like, they're doing Bella wrong. I'm gonna risk my livelihood and my ability to be the hearse driver to send my car, or whatever, the hearse down Hollywood Boulevard. That just doesn't seem right. And I don't know, like, to me, it just seems like something that I don't know, he might have done. I mean, the fact that it went right by his favorite cigar shop, that he literally, this is the route, like, what are the chances? Like, this is the route he went. He literally walked this every single day. It just
then
seems
maybe that
weird.
is a salute to him then. I don't know, but serious. Well, okay. What is your rating?
Okay, so my rating for this is a 6.
A 6. Okay, Al, where are you at?
I'm going to give it a 3 just because, and the only reason I'm rating it that high is because it's like, if I was a dead famous ghost, this is what I would try to make.
Right?
my
I mean, this totally
funeral
sounds
do.
like something a famous
Right.
ghost
I would
do.
have it drive past Amoeba Records in LA.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
would do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go 0 on this one again too.
Okay.
It seems like the explanation that is not paranormal makes a lot of sense. So
I don't know. It seems weird. I don't know. Anyways, all right. So we've got 2 more, and these are not big. These first 2 were kind of big, long stories. So these are going to be quick. So, a few other reports have been made about the apartment itself. So again, they always talk about the apartment being haunted. Those first 2 aren't really necessarily about the apartment.
which, by the way, he supposedly haunts a lot of locations, including the Hollywood sign too.
Wow.
So, okay.
I
But
don't know.
anyways,
So you kind of mentioned this early on. People state that there is an eerie feeling
Yes.
in the place, in the apartment, and they feel like they're being watched while they're sleeping. But that's all I could find. I could
Okay.
not find like a particular person who lived there saying this story.
all right.
So that's all
Al,
I
what
got.
do you got on this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of vague. And, a lot of it could be explained by, well, the reputation has built up in this place, and it is Bela freaking Lugosi.
And he
Yeah.
died there.
And he died there. So it's like, I think anybody with any amount of, we'll say, susceptibility might project into something like that feeling creepy. And, it's just scientifically, it's like people do have these experiences. Like scientists have stimulated certain parts of the brain that make people feel like they're being watched or that there are other presences around them and stuff like that. So it could be a brain chemistry thing as well, or a combination thereof. So I don't know, without more concrete background to that one, that kind of seems like, it's like an old Scooby-Doo episode or something. You guys are getting freaked out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would say also that anybody that rents this place knows it was Bela Lugosi's apartment at this point. It is considered one of the most haunted places. They're going to Google the address, and I did that. When you Google the address, it comes up with Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to read into that tragic story, and you're going to hear that he died in there. And that, I mean, any place that you go to where somebody's died, it gives you that creepy feeling once you know that, especially if you're in the same exact spot that they were when they died.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I have to say for it is just that it obviously got this reputation. I mean, not everywhere that a famous person dies is always necessarily considered haunted. So there must be stories that have been told about it that make people think that it's haunted. I don't know that it's ever been investigated, though. So it's...
I was going to ask you, because you did say the medium in your thing.
No, that was just me. That was my story.
So
So my rating for this then is 4.
okay. What is yours, Al?
I'm giving it a 1 only because, again, I'm rating it so high because I've felt the creeps before.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1. But what I was gonna say though is that there's no person that we could ask about this or
Right.
anything like that. There's nobody willing to put their name on this, so it means a lot less to me than something that someone would put their name to.
Yeah,
So-
and along those lines, that if there was some real credence to this or there was some real momentum behind it, It's Hollywood. They would have found a way to monetize it at this point.
They would
I
have.
was
It would have been a
thinking that,
full-length
yeah.
movie,
Right.
and a TV show,
Yes.
and there would have been toys made about it. Too.
Right. Action figures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is some Bella action figures.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So one last claim.
One last one.
And again, this is supposedly from a previous. They called him an owner. It's an apartment. So I don't know if you can own it, if it's a condo-ish kind of thing. But
Well, I don't know. It might be like New York where you can own
yeah,
apartments.
right. That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. In L.A., do people own apartments or do they rent them?
Well, if you owned it, it would be a condo.
It would be a condo, right? Yeah. Anyways, I don't know whether it is right now, but anyways, this is the claim that items were rearranged while he was sleeping, but he would never hear anything move.
All right.
So that's again all I got.
Okay. Well, I mean, if I had a nickel for every time something was not in the place I thought I put it, I would have retired 10 years ago. So, yeah, I personally don't think that's a lot to go on.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I mean, the idea that did a ghost move this, or did I just happen to put it in the wrong place? I mean, I probably put it in the wrong place. Now, in this, it's not saying what items. So if there were big items, like a china cabinet moved from one wall to the other.
A grand piano.
Yeah,
was-
exactly. Now, that gives a little bit more credence to that. But items can be anything. It could be a hairbrush. It could be a toothbrush. I just like brushes, I guess, today. It could be a lot of things. It could be a ghostly button. Maybe they had a ghostly button and it moved from one side to the
That
other.
would
And
be some great cross promotion.
it would be, and it glows in the dark
Fantastic.
too. So
Perfect.
yeah,
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. So to me, I don't know. Again, I think this just kind of falls under that idea of like, well, if we're believing that his ghost rearranged his funeral and is still hanging around, then I suppose maybe it's playing tricks. But it is more difficult when we don't have any specifics for it. But it's got its reputation somehow. So again, I'm gonna give this one a 5, just because it does relate to at least something a little more specific.
All
than the
right.
previous
Where you
one.
at, Al?
I'm at a 0 because I misplaced my keys this morning.
So
So
maybe it was a yellow-eyed ghost.
maybe it was a yellow-eyed ghost, or maybe the fact that I was super tired last night.
I'm going to go 0 as well because I've misplaced Al's keys before too. So.
There you go.
That's why I couldn't find them.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that is why I eventually learned to. I always have a hook right
Yeah.
next to my door wherever I live, so that I can hang my keys up there immediately upon entering the house. It's just like super habit to do. Oh my gosh. If my old college roommate Jolene is listening to this episode, that poor girl had to find my keys for me so many
Oh my God.
times.
Wow.
It's not even funny.
And by
Even
the
when we
way,
didn't
if-
live together, by the way, I would have to, Joe, could you come over and find my keys for me? Because I can't.
That's wow. And by the way, when you talk to her next, could you tell her to give me back my man? I would really appreciate it.
Jolene.
There you go.
Yeah. So for me, it's about personal possessions as well, because I have a lot of pockets usually. So I never know where I put things. So I'm always like, where did I put it? I put it here and I put it there. So I started a routine where, no, this is this, and this goes in this pocket. My wallet goes in this pocket. My keys go in this pocket, and I don't move them from that. And usually, like in my workstation, things are always at the same spot, so I can find it every single time.
But all it takes is me putting my phone in one new place, right?
Yeah.
Like I have
Yes.
2 places it could be. And if it's in any other place than that, including my hand, it is a panic situation,
Yeah.
right?
I like that you included your hand in that too. All right. So, what is your overall rating, Rebecca, on the Bela Lugosi's apartment?
Bela Lugosi's apartment, I'm going to give it a 4.
4. Okay.
Gosh, I want it, it's most haunted and there's so many fun stories associated with this.
Yeah,
but
this is considered one of the most haunted places in LA.
And again, the story of the funeral, it's there. That's what gives it the 4 to me. But man, the rest of it is just, it's not, there's just not enough.
All right, Al.
I'm going 2 because there's not a lot of meat on this sandwich for me.
No,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cheese though.
A lot of cheese.
A little bit of mayo.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 0 on this one because I just did an overall of all my ratings and I only gave a 1 at one time. So if I could do percentage, I mean, like if I could do something, I would say 0.25 for this one, but it's going to be 0 because I can't do that.
Rounding
So,
down. I gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So that brings us to our closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are each given 1 minute of uninterrupted time. We will time each other on our phones to keep Rebecca honest.
Hey,
Rebecca, are you ready?
I am ready whenever
All right.
you are
Let
ready.
me pull up my timer here. And go.
All right. So I know I gave it a 4. I almost gave it a 5. I mean, the thing about it is that I do think, I do believe the funeral story. Or at least I am more believing of that than the other stories. And I think there is maybe something that's happened, some stories that have happened that have caused it to be considered haunted. I mean, no one's making money off of it. So, I mean, there's some possible credibility there. I just wish I had found more specific stories, which is why I rated it a little bit lower than I normally would rate things. Again, super fun. Maybe there's a little something there, but I just don't think we have enough evidence for the apartment itself to say it's haunted.
All right. You ended with 7 seconds still.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Al, I think that means you're up next, and Rebecca will be timing you on her cell phone.
Okay.
And you can use the whole minute or not, whatever you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Just let me know.
You ready? And go.
Okay, so LA is the land of facade. It's the land of lies. So, to me, this more smacks of overt studio manipulation and perhaps some wishful thinking on the parts of the fan base that these things will happen. Again, going back to what Rebecca said herself about the fact that there are not a whole lot of specific incidents that we're speaking about here, except for the funeral procession and so on. So there's not a whole lot to hang on there. And quite frankly, I mean, I lived in LA for 13 years and I never heard about any of these shenanigans. And, someone who was at least tangential to LA lore at that time, it's like, I think maybe something would have come up if there was a little bit more heft to this. So, yeah, I'm afraid it's kind of light in the loafers for me.
Wow. All right. We had a second left there.
When you said heft, I thought you were saying hef, like Hugh Hefner.
Well, if Bela Lugosi, if I met him, I might sleep with him.
Nice.
Now, we're going to have to see. I'd love to hear what lore you did hear. I mean, not right now, but, maybe
sure.
for future episodes.
There you go.
We'll have to explore.
Hold a little something back for
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. All right, Pat, are you ready?
Of course.
Okay, and go.
There is just simply not enough evidence in this to present even any kind of haunting to you. The one thing that Rebecca brought up that she gave the highest thing to was the funeral possession, not possession.
Oh, it's kind of both, actually.
Yeah. The only thing that she brought up was that, and you'd be surprised what people will do to get their name in the newspaper. So I think that the guy made a mistake and just wanted to say something, and he was being interviewed by the paper, and that was all. So he thought he'd bring up something cool, not to say I just made a mistake. So that's all. It's not haunted. Vote no. Definitely no, 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 no.
Whoa.
So vote no 5 times is what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, I would take that.
I mean, even though I don't know that it's haunted, you should vote yes. I mean, I'm just saying.
So I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Please share us with your friends and family, as word of mouth is our best advertisement. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I mean, and you've made it through this whole episode without hitting subscribe, just do it. I mean, come on. Okay, so Al,
Yeah.
What do you have going on in the podcast?
So coming up from Ecstasy. So recently we covered some things about how you listen to music from different generational perspectives. We did a little thing on Squid Game, and we focused an entire episode on Stump the Dad, which you had alluded to before.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a game that Cal and I play with each other, wherein I give her a list of band names, some fictitious, some not, and she asks me about them, and I have to either give her the real history of it on the spot, or I have to make up a fake history on the spot.
Oh, you're good at that.
And then she votes as to which one's real and which one's not.
Oh.
And oftentimes I'm able to get away with tricking her. And
So really it's
Interesting.
Stumping Cal.
it is Stumping Cal.
Stump the Cal.
Stump the Cal.
Oh.
And in this most recent episode, she turns the tables on me, wherein she gives me the names of some fictitious video games, which she explains, and I have to determine whether
How did
they're
you
real
do?
or not. Both of us, we got about 25% going each way.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're good at stumping each other.
That's good. That's good, I think.
I guess.
Yeah.
And we do have an episode coming up wherein we talk about drugs.
Uh-oh. Wow. So you going to bring up Bela
Interesting.
Lugosi during that?
I might put a little addendum on there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
This episode brought to you by the late Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. Bela Lugosi's apartment.
Yes.
So, and where can they find you?
Yes.
They can find us on the Memoriam Development homepage. You can see our podcast.
MemoriamDevelopment.com.
MemoriamDevelopment.com. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. And again, the title of our podcast is From X to Z. And please check us out, like us, subscribe for some podcasty goodness. It's a fun, breezy way to spend an hour and put some information in your head that you probably didn't need.
Yeah, it's just a good time. And it's,
We try to make it that way.
it's nice to listen to two different perspectives on the same thing. You know,
Yes.
it is. Just like Ghostly, you know, it's got that same
Exactly.
kind of idea going there. And I really enjoy it. And if you enjoy listening to it, please tell a friend about it as well, because
Thank you. Yes.
they're just starting off, so they need the downloads.
Absolutely.
We need validation for our lives.
All right, so we are going to list off all of our VIP patrons, which we like to think of as producers of Ghostly. I'll start off. There is Ta.
Ernie,
There's Mary Saul.
Shayla,
There's Cindy.
Nicole,
There's Darnay.
Jessica,
Sarah.
Linda,
Alice.
Austin,
Hope.
and Candy.
So the next episode is for one of my favorite days of the year. It's Skeptics Day.
Skeptic Day.
Yeah.
So every April 1st is Skeptic Day. So says us.
So we say, yes.
Yeah. We have a fun episode planned for you. I'm not going to get into much details about it because you're just going to have to find out. Although we don't play the April Fool's joke, we just make it a Skeptic Day. So tune in on March 30th. Tune in or download on March 30th, and you'll be able to hear it, and you'll be able to have fun with us.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different than anything we've ever done on
Yeah, I'm a little
Ghostly.
worried about that.
I mean, we've done this sort of thing on other podcasts, including sort of Al's other podcast, but yeah, we've never done anything like this. So
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
it's going to be
Absolutely.
really different.
All right. Until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.